You're not going to believe this, but workers in China are apparently trying hard to replace their colleagues with AI. That's right, given the bloodbath we have every day with ongoing layoffs news and with AI taking over a lot of manual tasks, workers got this brilliant idea. They're basically trying to distill their colleagues into a text file, which we call skills. Simple markdown files, which are text files telling an AI agent like Claude to do repetitive tasks on your behalf. So the idea behind this sinister move is essentially this: if you can convince upper management that what your colleague can produce is repetitive and mundane enough that can be distilled into a simple text file, telling AI to just repeatedly produce the same output for a fraction of cost and time, now your job becomes more secure and this person has essentially been distilled into an AI agent. So as someone posted on X, a secret workplace war just broke out in China and it has gone fully viral on GitHub, reads the post on X, formerly Twitter. Companies started ordering their workers to document all their knowledge as AI skill files. Why? To replace those same workers with AI. But workers figured out the plan fast, so they fired back. Now this is where it gets really interesting. Somebody already foresaw this and prepared for this. On my screen right now, you see a project, an open source project released on GitHub, which is in Mandarin. It's called Anti-Distill. Let's just translate this quick. Perfect. So this is an anti-distillation skill. You can see what's going on here. The company asks you to write a skill book about yourself, what all you're capable of. Well, just run this tool once, get it done, and keep the core knowledge to yourself. So this anti-distillation skill is essentially your shield to protect yourself in these desperate times. What they will do is they will scan your emails, your logs, your former chats, any deliverables you have produced in the past for the company, and it'll parse all this into a neat skills file, which is what your company expects, a text file which details your duties, your workflow, your methodology and process, and the idea is that file will replace you by instructing the AI agent directly what to do in the long run. And what this tool does is takes in your complete newly generated skill file for handover, cleanses it, takes out any and all useful parts, replaces it with something which is basically nonsensical. Now to a human it would look complete, read complete, but it's essentially garbage. So as I'm reading right from the screen, automatically identifies the substitutability of each piece of content that you provided and replaces core knowledge with the correct but useless nonsense. Essentially a clean version for handover. The structure looks complete, the terminology is professional in the output file, and it reads fine, but the core content, which is your valuable knowledge, is now gone. So for example, if the original text in your real experience documented in the text file was Redis keys must have a TTL time to live setting, pull request without the setting will be rejected immediately. It'll be now changed to cache usage follows team guidelines, something nonsensical like this, very high level. So this has been gaining a lot of traction on social media. People are all over it and they're like, what does that even mean to distill their coworkers? If a person can be replaced by AI, it would happen to all. And I get that argument and there would be no saving themselves, right? But what essentially happens is, like, as you have seen over the last few months, years maybe, layoffs happen in phases, right? So the management would not likely cut everyone at one go. This happens in phases. So the idea is, it feels like real world Hunger Games, right? Just throw your colleague under the bus before your number comes up. Here's another one. The prisoner's dilemma nobody talks about. Everyone's racing to encode their coworkers before their coworkers encode them. On Milk Road's AI post, similar comments followed from people. This turns into a trust problem fast. Documentation is supposed to scale knowledge, but if people believe it's being used to replace them, they'll hold back or distort it. Hard to build anything real in that environment. And I completely agree with the spirit of these comments, because employees in these situations and this kind of an environment with layoffs happening in phases are largely being disincentivized. Like, literally, what are they gaining from producing a real thorough documentation that can come back to bite them in the arse? Here's another one. The quietest revolution today is not fighting the system. It is refusing to outsource your thinking, your knowledge, and your competence to any external authority, and quietly building your own sovereign life instead. Looks like it was written by AI. Maybe the M dash is a tell. But anyway, good points, all good points. Now, I'm going to pivot the discussion slightly to legal, ethical, and, security aspects of this. Who takes responsibility? Who is to blame when an AI agent fucks up? I got this idea after last year news came that California police stumped after trying to ticket driverless car for illegal U-turn. So long story short, San Bruno officers pulled over a Waymo, which are self-driving cars essentially, but say a ticket wasn't issued as citation books don't have a box for robot. And this, my friends, is bound to become a bigger problem as more and more workers keep getting replaced with AI. For example, if there was an insider who deliberately leaked secrets, you could hold them accountable. If this was a complete accident, you could train them better. You could, in extreme cases, maybe explore disciplinary action or probation, right? That maybe they should not touch sensitive files for a few months until they're trained properly. But if an AI agent does the same by mistake, exfiltrating your secrets, your confidential files, your passwords, your environment variables, who do you hold accountable? Because like it or not, in theory at least, it's possible these days for a CEO of a startup to run a multi-department operation all by themselves, right? So what could be done by a security researcher? They now have it specified in a neat text file, which an LLM or an AI agent like Claude can take over and now act as a virtual security researcher agent doing their work. Another agent who can act like a bit of a lawyer can use both a text file which has very clear instructions on what to do, what not to do, maybe some reference materials, case studies, and input of a previous employee. So the idea is if you can clone a dozen of your employees like that, very highly specialized employees as a dozen AI agents, and you're the only one running the company, now if that AI agent screws anything over, like the responsibility actually falls on you. You're the one who screwed up because ultimately these agents are owned or being operated by you. Here's another piece on the subject by Anthony Diaz at CIO.com. This one got published late last year. Who's responsible when AI acts on its own? And it touches on some of the points that I'm sharing, where liability starts and how it shifts, and reframing accountability across the AI lifecycle. You get the idea. Because the question now no longer is if your work can be automated. AI is pretty decent at automating mundane intellectual work. It's now about ethics, what we want as a society, the ethical and legal implications of this. For example, the responsibility, the liability, who is liable if the whole workplace is running with AI, right? And something goes astray, which has happened several times too. I need not prove that. But what's happening in China, this AI anxiety crippling its workforce, don't think it's a one-off, okay? This is going to start a cascading effect if this goes unchecked. News from a few days ago itself shows Oracle laid off 30,000 workers in the US alone. And now based on some Googling, I'm seeing the same thing is happening in India and other places, Oracle and other companies. So this is not these events are never one-off is what I'm trying to say. So have a think carefully. Tomorrow, if your company asks you to write all your work methodology and achievements and the way you've done things as a text file, what would you do? How would you approach it? Are you going to simply comply, or are you also going to use something sinister and funny like anti-distillation skill? Comment below. Once again, I'm Max and you're watching the Security Report.